It's a town that didn't exist until the end of 1981, but it could be any suburban housing development. It has a modern school, a new shopping plaza, an excellent library, a church, a courthouse, a police station, plus an Olympic swimming pool. But this 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, fully air-conditioned, fully furnished home is available for just $14 per week, including power. And it's set in the remote wilderness of Australia's Northern Territory, on the site of one of the world's largest uranium deposits. Named after a rare species of the stork family, Jabiru is situated 264 kilometres east of Darwin, at the end of the Arnhem Highway in the famed Kakadu National Park, centre of Aboriginal history, dating back 40,000 years, and home of superb bird and wildlife and flora. A spectacular sight is the majestic Jim Jim Falls and the adjacent Twin Falls. This magnificent national park has been declared by the World Heritage Council. Kakadu National Park is surrounded by miles of escarpment, which appears like some ancient fortification guarding the park from time and the outside world. Ranger Mines, the reason for the town's existence, expended some $400 million on the mine, plus a further $90 million towards the building of the town. They have contracts for the export of uranium for the next 15 years. Ranger Mines are there by agreement with the Miramar Aboriginal tribe, who have occupied the area for upwards of 40,000 years. The mine is guarded by Mount Brockman, sacred to the Aborigines, home of the rainbow serpent. It's here the Aborigines believe creation began. Should the serpent be awakened, it will be the end of the world. Because of this, it's an express condition of Ranger Mines' lease that only small blasts can be made, so as not to disturb the rainbow serpent.
Here at Ranger Mines, we are fairly heavily committed to protecting the environment. In fact, it's probably our highest priority here. The reason for that is because we're situated within the boundaries of the Kakadu National Park, and for that reason we want to protect the environment as much as we can. The people in Jabiru benefit from this nursery more than anybody, I guess, because the plants that we propagate in this nursery are on free issue, and people can landscape their yards with native plants from the Kakadu National Park obtained from this nursery. To obtain seed for use in our nursery, we contract Aboriginal women who go out into the bush to collect quantities of seed for us, which they bring back here for us to use. Here in the nursery, our nursery assistants come from all over the world to help us propagate the native plants. Go is from Thailand, and Liz, for example, is from another part of the Northern Territory. Other restrictions on the residents of Jabiru to make sure there is a strict protection of the environment in the national park include things like we're not allowed to keep cats in our households for the fear that they may escape into the bush and become wild. We're only allowed 2 dogs, which aren't allowed outside the town without a lead. Caged birds aren't allowed in Jabiru, in the national park.
Maria Armstrong was born of Greek parents in Queensland and spends much of her time as a voluntary worker teaching the local Aborigines useful crafts.
Here in Jabiru, we're working with the Aboriginal women, and we're trying to include as many things as possible that we would find useful for them. They are making patchwork bags, as they are very useful to carry their seeds and things around in. The next project is to make a blanket for the dry season, obviously to keep themselves warm, because our seasons do change here in Jabiru. I really feel that we are a part of Jabiru and very involved in the community, and I feel the work that I'm doing here with the Aboriginals is very important for them, as they are a big part of the community in Jabiru.
Kakadu Park is located in a region which had been the bridge between Australia and Southeast Asia. Over the centuries, across this bridge, people, plants and animals migrated between the continents. Traditionally owned by the Aboriginal people, with the granting of Aboriginal land rights, their ownership is recognised under modern law. In November 1978, the Aborigines leased their land to the Director of National Parks and Wildlife to be managed as a national park on behalf of all Australians, a magnificent gesture by the Aborigines. The unique Kakadu landscape is the product of continuing weather erosion and sedimentation that has taken place over some 2,000 million years. Jabiru Rock is another sacred site of the Aborigines, providing an awesome gallery of Aboriginal art, which scientists say is upwards of 23,000 years old and ranks with the world's most ancient art. Despite its age, it has survived with incredible detail, with frequent drawings of the barramundi fish, which abounds in the area. A failed banana plantation brought Yugoslavia's Ray Koljan from Western Australia to Jabiru.
Well, about 15 years ago, I went for holidays to Europe to visit my parents. On the way back, I met my wife on a ship coming to Australia. My wife is Polish. She's from Lublin. That's a small country town around Warsaw. When we got married, we were broke. We had nothing. We started from the scratch. We settled down in the city with the big traffic and too many people, you know. Concrete jungle, you might call it, you know. I prefer a country life. So, wife agreed on everything, you know, that we should move from the city, you know, and get a job in the country somewhere. One can do lots of things here, like, you know, different clubs. You can join different clubs. You know, go out. No worry about, you know, rush or traffic or pollution or you know, one have really plenty time, lots of time to do anything you want with your spare time in Jabiru. Fishing is, well, I love fishing. We got a lot of water holes around the place here, not far from me, only 2 or 3 miles away. You can take your boat in and do fair day fishing, just like that, on your own, no one around, you know. Take your kids down and a wife, picnic. Lots of people wouldn't dream of places like this, you know. They unsafe. You know, when you come up here, you think, you know, on the way up, you think you're coming to a desert, you know, which is wrong. You know, you can see yourself. This is like just like living in a national park, which it is national park, you know.
A vast and spectacular variety of bird life abounds in Kakadu. Because of the remoteness of the area, new species are still being recorded. A wealth of breathtaking plant life exists in the park. Certain plants are still used by the Aborigines for food and medicine. While the majority of Jabiru's population work in the mine, Alberto and Helen Lulietti took the gamble of opening up business with the town's only cafe.
We've been in the territory for nearly 10 years now. Our last place was Gove, and from then on we decided to come to Jabiru. It's a lovely little town, it's clean, it's pollution free, and we decided to set up a small business that we have. It's a cafe, and the highlight is Thursday nights. Every Thursday night we convert this place into a pizza parlor.
They make the best pizza in town.
Yes, of course, because it's the only pizza in town.
To protect the environment, there is no hotel or tourist accommodation in Jabiru. For the townspeople, there's a sports and social club, a golf club, and a wet mess for the construction workers.
I was born in Egypt, and the reason why we came to Australia was in the beginning of 1966, where all the European people started to migrate because of the war, of the 7-day war.
I born in Italy, and my reason was very simple. Just I was like to go out from Italy for a while to explore the other country. First I go in Germany. I stopped a couple of years in there. And then the migration was open to Australia, and I decided to come here, just to have a look at Australia. But when I come here, I like it, and I stay. I travel by boat, and then the boat I meet my future wife, Helen.
We met each other the first night. They had a ball when the ship set sail. They had a big ball, and there we were all sitting down, and the dancing was going. And I saw this man approaching to me and asking me to dance. And I said no. And after the first break, he approached himself again and invited me for another dance. So I got up and danced. And then the conversation started. He said, "Sprechen Sie Deutsch?" I said no. He said, "Parla Italiano?" I said no. And then I have started on him. I said, "You speak French?" In French. He said no. I said, "You speak Arabic? You speak Greek? You speak Turkish?" He said no. So we couldn't communicate, but we started laughing, and we took it from there. We saw each other on the boat, of course, every now and again, and then we started going steady together. Although I couldn't speak a word of Italian, and he couldn't speak English, but amazingly we understood each other. We came and had a look at Jabiru with my husband, and we liked the town. It's clean, it's fresh, it had everything that we wanted, school for our son. And we have tried to get the cafe. We have decided. We put in an application, and luckily it was accepted.
But in the moment after 5, 6, 7 years maybe, I tried to go back in big town just for give better education to my son. The town is prepared about for 3,000-4,000 people, or more than that. That everybody wait for the other two mines to open, like Jabaluka and Kungara. Soon they open. I think the town can much better, and there's more things come around, so and so. You know?
Buffalo were introduced to the area over 100 years ago, and at a nearby abattoirs, they are slaughtered and exported to the dinner tables of Europe. Not being indigenous to the area, they've caused much damage to the park, as well as being a major hazard to night driving.
Last year I think we slaughtered somewhere about 15,000. This year they've extended to their meatworks, and we're going to try and slaughter 25,000 buffalo and cattle together. The government's trying to wipe the buffalo completely out of the territory. Like last year when I was catching up around the South Alligator there, they were mustering, and one muster they got 1,700, and out of the 1,700 they got, there was 800 of them were shot and buried because they were too small to go through the meatworks. So they're going to completely wipe the animals out of the territory, they say.
In the dry season, the buffalo, along with kangaroos and dingoes, are frequent visitors to the Jabiru township, attracted by the artificial lake.
I arrived in Australia 6 years ago in Melbourne, and there I was in sunny Australia. Bloody cold. Bloody hot today. Freezing. Well, anyhow, I couldn't speak a word English, so I had to learn English, and the best for that was to get a job and learn the language and learn the people. Just remember, we arrived here in Jabiru with $7 in our pocket, and we went well from then. During the construction time, it was very warm people here. Since then, when the construction period was over and we were with Ranger, and things seemed to change, with the air-conditioned houses. The air conditioning seemed to not only cool the houses down, but the social climate seemed to cool down as well. I met my wife when I was still living in Germany on a holiday to Thailand. I asked her for address of certain people I were going to meet in Thailand. She was selling flowers on a roadside stand. My wife, she speaks quite well, but not well enough yet. But the adult migrant education department, they supplied us with a home tutor, and there's a woman from Jabiru. She teaches my wife twice a week how to talk English, and also how to handle the life in Australia, shopping, banking, posting, etc. And as from next week, she will start driving lessons with my wife. So it's very helpful. I'm very pleased with that.
There, which is Darwin, D. With the Migrant English Home Tutor Scheme, we aim to give the migrant a lot of practical experience when they're learning English. So therefore we take them to places like the bank, the supermarket, maybe the post office and the clinic. Everyday places that they're likely to want to go to and have to speak English at the same time.
Yeah, when my wife and me first met, we didn't speak a common language, and it was very hard to communicate in that days, but we had some sort of a mutual understanding, and I was talking to her with the sign language, virtually with hands and feet, and then I made an effort to learn her language. It seemed to be easier than the other way around. We like to stay here for a while, but if we have to move on, we have to find another place where we can earn our living.
I own a house, a car, a flat, some property in my country, a farm, a few things for survive.
A uranium mine might be considered a man's world, but Portugal's Alzara Fernandes has proved that she can tackle the toughest of male jobs.
I'm very proud. Sometimes I do the job as 3 men. No problem at all. I'm not feel tired, nothing. I want the job done. I want to see my foreman smile. Smile. He's very proud. His job been done. He's very happy with my job. It fits me. When I go pick up my pie, I'm go like it that. I'm not go like it that. I go like it that is mine. I come from Portugal. Portugal, at the time, when I coming to Australia, is not jobs over there. But when I decided coming to Australia, I don't know what Australia looks like. I don't know about money. I don't know about food. I don't know about anything. I'm coming to Australia to work. I'm coming to Jabiru. I arrive on Thursday. On Fridays they go to strike. For 2 weeks. No money. But I got money in the bank, but I not won't take it from the bank. No money in the pocket. Plenty tack. It's good tack. I sleep and eat. My first pay is $93. Only I've been work a few hours. That's it. I adopt 2 young children. One is Dora Fernandez, is 3 years old. His other one is Manuela Fernandez, is my daughters. I adopt 2 young children for give them a good future. I can do.
The construction workers' wet mess provides the main centre of their social life. Whilst single employees of Ranger Mines live in air-conditioned townhouses with all meals provided for only $30 per week, the transient contract workers live in contrasting Spartan surroundings. Loneliness makes the camp phone box the main attraction, with some workers spending $20 a night on calls to family and girlfriends. With nearly 1/3 of the town's population children, Jabiru boasts a model school.
Listen to the introduction.
Jabiru area school's a very unique school in many ways because there are only 3 like this in the whole of the Northern Territory. This school's not yet 2 years old, and its students start here at 4.5 in the preschool and can leave when they're 15 or 16 at the end of their secondary education.
The correct measurements, that's being these ones up here for the circle here.
Because we offer that sort of range, we are attracting, of course, all of the town students, but there are many Aboriginal students too who come from the outlying areas. Some of these students are not used to being in school situations, and of course we have to help them not only adjust to being in an urban sort of school, but we have to also help them to gain the skills of personal hygiene, as well as domestic science, cooking, some woodwork and metalwork, and the sorts of skills that they can use back in their homes and back in their camps and on the settlements. It's not very easy sometimes to do this, but the school has to certainly have a lot more facilities than the ordinary school that we see in a community. Many of our teachers are part of folk groups, sporting groups and youth organisations around the town. And our students see us as part of their lives and a part of their community. all the way through the time that they're here or the time that their teachers are here.
So if we have it on here, it won't cook properly, will it? So we put the hot part, right hand on the hot part.
This makes the school very exciting because it gives us teachers a greater challenge in getting to know their students very much as people, as the sort of people that become Territorians or may move off to other states of Australia. If they leave our school, as they do quite a lot because of their parents' work, the students have got to fit into the sort of education that they'd get in other states. This makes the secondary side of our schooling very important because our secondary students have to go into schools in the southern states often feeling that they haven't lost anything by being in a remote place like Jabiru.
The school band has only been formed 2 months, but what they lack in experience, they make up for with huge enthusiasm. While uncertainty hangs over Jabiru's future expansion, one thing is certain. Here is a community that is at peace with its environment and has a deep and continuing concern for its children.
Australia is my country. I live here for the last 14 years. But the best town is Jabiru. I will be the last person in Jabiru, even if only I get 2 hours work. I'm there in Jabiru. It's a good town.